Satnam, Satnam, Yoga 108 Seeker community.
Hi guys.
I'm super happy to be here with my friend and partner in crime, Michelle Toth. Michelle is a certified Ayurveda coach from the Chopra Center, and she's here to talk to us today about preparing and really thriving in the winter season. So she's calling it, and I love this, bringing comfort and joy to winter. So that's what we need. We need a little comfort and joy.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Good to see everybody. So yeah, I think that is our intention, is through our lifestyle, we can definitely bring...
You're just going to play camera girl here for a moment. There we go.
We can definitely bring more comfort and joy into our daily lives and our experiences. So, as we always do, I thought we could start with setting an intention. And so, my intention for today is really for Tracy and I to connect with you and inspire you to try new things and incorporate different practices in your life and see how it works.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think I share that intention. Really, I'm super excited to bring this series forward because now more than ever, I feel like if we're not living our yoga practice as a lifestyle, then we're really setting ourselves up for a more difficult ride. So bringing in Ayurveda, other kinds of conversations so that we can wrap ourselves in the practices that we know, we've tried them, we know they support us. This is a very valuable intention, really good use of our time today. So we're happy that you're here.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And I know everybody's really busy. So you're gifting yourself this time. So I want to encourage you also to set your own intentions. So just take a few minutes, close your eyes, and think about what you want to get out of this time that we have together. All right. So I don't know, for those of you who don't know me, I am a California girl living in Northeast Ohio. So it was a big transition for me, and it's taken me about 10 years to...
And that's how long it would take.
And I mentioned the time because with Ayurveda, it's we're healing ourselves, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of experimentation because we're always changing, and so is our environment. And as we're part of nature, it ebbs and flows. So it's taken me, years to finally get to the point where I'm comfortable and actually appreciate the season of winter and all that goes with it. So I thought we could start with nature and really the status quo, like what is happening right now, what happens in winter, and then how it affects us. So the days are shorter. The nights
so short that you forget which direction it goes. Like
the
really
nights are really long. It gets dark really early, for those people that are watching that might not be in Northeast Ohio, it's going to be a little bit different. So the majority of our conversation today is going to be our experience here in Northeast Ohio. So,
and actually, I know from friends who study the weather patterns, like pilots and such, that Northeast Ohio is statistically one of the cloudiest places in the country. Like we get clouds like nobody's business. And one friend described it as, Cleveland has so many beautiful shades of gray.
yes.
And that's, yeah.
And I think they say January, the month of January, the average days of sunshine are 2.
Wow.
So, there's something to be said for that. So that's happening. So we really need to think about the circadian rhythm, that's happening with the lack of sun. And then the temperatures drop. So it can be cold and dry. It could rain, and it could be cold and moist. So, there's things happening there. And then, but underneath, even though it looks barren and just stark and dead, underneath, there's definitely a party going on. Like nature doesn't stop, and things are growing and getting ready to pop in the spring.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's excitement and anticipation there.
And I think that's super valuable for us to really remember in setting intentions and even approaching these practices. And when you mention time, this comes to mind. I mean, sometimes we get very hooked on this idea that we could get a prescription and we could just take a pill and this problem will go away. But when we think about it that way, we fail to remember that you have to take that pill every day. And so you're taking that pill every day, and in taking that pill, you're band-aiding over a symptom, and you're not healing.
Right.
You're not solving any of the problems. So even though, you know, it might take Michelle 10 years to acclimate to Cleveland winters, she really owns that skill and that habit, and she's been able to really heal herself into appreciating and participating in the rhythms of nature. And whether, whatever you're working with, it sure beats taking a pill for 10 years.
Absolutely.
So,
yes, totally agree. But it does take experimentation and practices.
And commitment.
Right. And to make yourself feel better, and when you feel better, everybody around you feels better. So making yourself a priority and incorporating some of the things that we're going to talk about today that are easy and free.
Yeah.
And make a huge difference is what we're going to focus on. And then the other thing that's happening, it's January. So, it's a new year, and there's people making resolutions and intentions. And so one thing that we want to focus on today is more about creating abundance instead of restrictions. So, we're not going to talk about diets or losing weight or anything that's trendy or a fad. It's more about skills that we can use throughout our entire life that really make some powerful changes.
Right. And I feel like when you look at it that way, you're appreciating your toolbox as a buffet or a menu or a platform of options that you can use when you need it. So none of this is, I have to do this and I have to do this every day and I must do it every day. Everything's like, I'm going to add this tool so that when I'm in a place of choice, I can decide if this is appropriate or not.
Right.
Yeah.
And it does, because we are changing and the weather's changing and our environment changes, the people around us, our location, that kind of thing. It is one of those things where you do have a toolbox and you can be like, well, that didn't work, so let me try something else.
Gosh, are you going to tell us about your car?
My car?
And all the stuff in your car?
Oh, geez. I joke with my California friends and family that I have everything in the back of my car. Because it always changes here in Cleveland. So I've got a snow scraper. I think I have a snow little shovel thing. I have an umbrella. I have sunscreen. I have a headlamp. I have a blanket. What else could happen?
Like everything. Well, and you said my winter box of tissues.
Yes, I have a winter box of tissues because your nose runs when it's cold. So I have everything. And that's a really good analogy, actually, because that's what we're going to talk about is this toolkit where you can, pull things out of your magic hat and give it a go. And it might work, and it might not. But don't give up because you could try it a month later and it could totally fit the bill. So. So it's kind of fun. Yeah, lots of variety. It never gets boring. So wanted to talk about also about how winter is really a time to slow down. Things get quiet. Even the animals naturally, prepare. They hibernate. Bears hibernate, so they are really slowing down. And a lot of animals are, putting things away and storing food and that kind of thing. So we can also prepare and by slowing down and really turning inwards. Right. So there's a big opportunity for growth. So we have less time outside, but we have more time inside, and we can make use of that time.
I think that's trend setting. There's been this heightened awareness around the way we use stress and busyness as a status symbol in our society. And so we can really be trendsetters by elevating rest, by elevating introspective time at home, by elevating this cozy time, you know, the hibernating time in the winter. So, you know, be a trendsetter.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's really, you know, New Year, blank canvas, so we can be setting intentions. And then there's also something that I read about that really resonated with me is about how the elements are so shocking to our system. So, and we're sensory beings. So when you walk out, you know, and it's like, it's freezing, or you go for a run and you have the frigid air in your lungs, that it's uncomfortable. And so we talk about this in yoga a lot, you know, just being uncomfortable, and it forces us to learn to self-soothe ourselves so we can, you know, get warm on the inside through our own, you know, practices and trying different things.
Yeah.
So that's an opportunity for growth and learning how to self-soothe yourself. Also, you know, intention setting, journaling, those types of really the inner work that will manifest, you know, and then when spring comes, you know, things can be born. You know,
even one of my favorite winter activities is my vision board, and I always do it in front of the fireplace. Oh. So there's like something about that when you said that, like turning the fireplace on and really creating, not really ritual. I mean, I didn't burn any candles, I didn't chant anything, there wasn't a meditation involved, but just like I have this traditional ritual of making myself some hot little something, tea, or this year I think I did like a latte dandy blend thing, turning on the fireplace and just mapping things out and having that intention setting time. Yeah,
it's really, really important and very grounding. We'll talk about more grounding techniques, but
probably wouldn't have felt the same in the summer. No. Like something about doing it in the winter just makes good sense. Like
and the other opportunity for growth is really finding our inner rhythm. And you know, you're kind of talked about that with summer versus winter and vision boarding. You know, a lot of the winter sports are solo sports, so ice skating and skiing. And what's interesting about that is those athletes have to find their own inner rhythm. So again, it's another, you know, idea that we can do in the winter and an opportunity to explore.
And it elevates it. Like you're just taking these things that we would normally complain about, and we're just like elevating them and really honoring them and taking advantage of that side of the coin or that perspective or that opportunity. Really.
Yeah, because it's out of our control, and Ayurveda, a lot of it is about rhythms and honoring the rhythms of nature and us being part of nature. So kind of got to go with the flow sometimes.
Yeah, when you're in Northeast Ohio.
But why fight it? Because you're just wasting precious energy. So just go with it
and really that battle that we have inside wastes our energy psychically, mentally, emotionally, physically, on all levels. So when you try to push and go and slam your body through more than really is intuitively healthy for you, you do pay the price. So disease, you know, burnout. So I'm sure we're all very familiar with that. So one thing I wanted to talk about is in Ayurveda there are things called doshas, and there are 3 doshas, and where each one of us has a primary dosha, and it's an energy constitution, and they say that it happens at conception. So we're born with it, and we're all a combination of the doshas. So it's Vata, Pitta, Kapha, and there are certain characteristics with each dosha. The seasons also have a dosha associated with them. And so we're in early winter, and the dosha that corresponds with that is Vata. And I know both you and I are Vata, like individually our constitutions are Vata, and then the season is Vata, and then Vata is the dosha that gets most out of whack
quickly.
Which explains a lot.
So, and that might contribute to how we feel emotionally a lot of times in the winter, is because it's Vata season, and we have to be consciously doing things to balance Vata.
Yeah, so if you feel like you get kind of off your balance or off your system dysregulates kind of easily. It's hard to stay grounded, it's hard to stay organized, it's hard to stay energized. You feel like maybe sometimes you get flighty, or sometimes you get, disorganized, chaotic. Then that can be a little bit of that feeling.
Those are definitely those are the symptoms. So the characteristics of Vata. So Vata is space and air. Those are the elements. So, and movement is a characteristic, like wind and spaciness and lots of ideas and just scattered, that type of thing. It's also drying because of the air and the space. So, so those are the characteristics, which means that we need to do the opposite of that.
To balance it out.
So grounding, and we'll talk in more detail about that, and moisturizing because of the drying aspect.
Yeah, we do a lot of chatting about that, Michelle and I.
And I'll show you.
If you were the fly on the wall, you would know a lot about that.
A lot about moisturizing. So, that's what we're dealing with regard to doshas and Ayurveda.
So even if you're not a Vata, you can experience these things because seasonally this is Vata time.
Yes. Early winter is Vata.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what would be the boundary of early winter into, is it just spring next or late winter?
I think it is late winter, and then spring goes to Kapha because it's moist and rainy and muddy, and so it's more heavy and slow.
So we would be in early winter, and then maybe February we'd start getting to late winter.
I think so.
And that mid-March area.
Yeah.
It's probably a little bit determined by location too.
It is.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, because right now in Australia, for example, they're not going to be in Vata season.
True. Yeah.
Or I don't think they are.
Southern hemisphere would be the opposite.
Yeah,
Okay.
it changes.
Yeah.
So that's why I mentioned at the beginning where we're located. Because
all of our Australian friends.
Well, if people are watching this globally, it can be very different. They're like, I just went to the beach and it's gorgeous outside.
Or Michelle's friends on the West Coast.
Very different.
Yeah.
I know. It does get cooler there, as you know.
Yeah.
But usually the sun is shining every day. Anyway, the sun is shining here today, so we have a lot to be thankful for.
We have a lot to be thankful for.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about symptoms of being out of balance. And you rattled off a lot of them because you live it.
I feel them. Yeah, I feel them. And I really, you probably have this on there. Yeah, the seasonal affective. Because it's one of those labels that, I'm just going to jump in on you if you don't mind. It's one of those labels that when I first learned about it, which would have been, of course, many years ago when they started talking about seasonal affective disorder, I was like, what are you talking about? That's just normal. When it's gray and gloomy, you're going to be affected by that. Why is that now tagged as an issue? It's like, yeah, I experience it, but I never thought of it as pathology. I always thought of it as a part of the rhythm and one of those things that
happens to you.
Happens, yeah, and I wish it didn't, but if you're going to live here, so pack up or figure it out. Yeah.
But it's
real.
It's a chemical, physical,
it's
real thing. So we're talking about seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, which is a perfect acronym because it does cause depression or feelings of depression and sadness. And it's because of the lack of light. Yeah. And so, so
the brain chemicals.
Right. Yeah. Brain chemicals, serotonin, dopamine, all of that is affected. So that's part of the emotional symptoms of unbalanced Vata, especially during winter, is the SAD, and then also anxiety and insomnia. Okay. And insomnia is because it's, flighty, airy. We've got a lot of ideas usually, and so people suffer from that. Yeah. One thing that I purchased a few years ago was a light box for seasonal affective disorder. And it's the size of an iPad. They have all kinds of different ones. They have ones that are actually like lamps, so you can, you know, work next to it. Mine's just like an iPad, and it's nice because you can travel with it, but I just make sure I sit, you know, close to it for 15, 20 minutes a day.
That's excellent.
And
they're not that expensive. I was looking,
I think it was like $25.
Yeah, they're not as much as I think they used to be more. I've got the infrared sauna now, and I feel like that's been helping me a lot.
Yeah.
On a lot of levels, but it's definitely been helping with some of the winter moods.
Yeah, the warmth too, I think would help. The warmth. Yeah. Yeah, it sounds heavenly. The other thing is just plain sunlight. So we don't get a lot of it here, but when it is, when it is sunny, make sure that you go outside and get some of the sun, or sit next to a window like a kitty cat, like, you know, lay in the sun that's coming through your sliders or whatever, and get as much of a vitamin D also as you can. Something that I've started that I've really enjoyed is sunset walks, even in the winter. I mean, it's more in the winter because it's earlier, so I can go out at 4:30, just even for 10 minutes, and walk around the block and just look at the sun setting. And it's just a nice way to connect with nature. It's another way to, you know, get some sunlight.
And you're bringing a lot of that, like when we talk about elevating this, it's like you're bringing a lot of gratitude and awareness and appreciation to the sun and the opportunity, which really does a lot for reducing the gray days.
Yes.
Like just the awareness alone.
And just connecting. And instead of fighting and being mad at winter, which I was for many years, and very resentful about moving here. But now it's, you know, it's really beautiful, and it's very simple, and like I said, it could take 10 minutes, you know.
It's a great tip.
Yeah. And then as far as physical symptoms, we talked about moisturizing. So dryness, and more dryness. And I'm talking like skin, nails, hair, stools.
Mucus.
That's more.
Dry.
That's the opposite of mucus. Mucus is like wet.
Yeah, wet heavy. I don't mean that. I mean like a lack of moisture in my mouth. Like
yeah, it's dehydration.
Yeah.
And dry eyes. My eyes get really dry. So it's rampant. It's the you know, biggest physical symptom that we have, and there's certain things that we can be doing to counter that.
I'm gonna write them down.
Oh, okay.
What am I doing?
Oil, and oil.
Oil, and oil.
So we're going to talk just quickly about that, about us being sensory beings, because I think we forget that. And we're going to talk about different things that touch on all of our different senses. So the 5 senses are sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch.
Yes.
Smell is our strongest sense. And then taste and touch balance our body. So the 2 T's, there's 3 S's and 2 T's.
Gotcha.
So I want you to think about incorporating things daily that tap into each of those senses.
Okay.
And it keeps us balanced. And that's the whole key to Ayurveda, is balancing nonstop.
Okay, then let's back up, and if you need to write these down, let's write them down. And maybe as Michelle talks us through, there would probably be tips under each of those senses.
I didn't organize it that way, but
we can
they touch on all of that. And I can also follow up and do a blog posting or something that has this categorized that way.
So sight, smell,
sound.
Sound instead of hearing. Okay, that gives you the 3 S's. Touch and taste. And touch and taste balance the body.
Yes.
Smell is your most sensitive or strongest?
The strongest out of all of the senses.
And so we're going to use our 5 senses to kind of balance this winter business.
Correct.
That's very cool. Okay, love that.
So the first kind of category, so instead of doing it by senses, I did it by category. So we're going to talk about grounding. And we talk about that in yoga, and there's definitely certain poses that most of you are probably familiar with. But grounding is important because we're talking about Vata and the air, space element of it. So grounding pulls us down, gives us a foundation and a sense of like safety and security, which is why, you know, it's really, really important. So some of the practices are grounding. So putting your bare feet on the earth. It's really cold right now. So even just putting your feet on the ground when you meditate, for example, instead of sitting cross-legged on, you know, on a chair, on a mat or whatever, but actually like sitting in a chair with your bare feet on the ground, you know, and preferably grounding would be your feet in the your toes in the grass or something like that. But in the winter, it's kind of hard to do that.
Well, I feel like you're talking about touch, right? And that's by helping to balance the body. So this is a really good one. Like even noticing like your feet on the soft of a sheepskin, or your feet if I'm using a wool blanket that has a texture to it. When I came out to not help you carry anything from the car, I had my bare feet on the cold of the concrete. So like I don't have to be there forever, but I noticed it. Like I noticed the temperature, I noticed the texture. And so then even if my mind just flashes there, and we didn't talk about it or anything, but like I was noticing, oh, it feels cold, it's on my feet. I'm like, that kind of awareness can be really helpful.
It's a good point about textures too, and fabrics. So, you know, I usually, this is actually a scarf, but I use it as a blankie. So I always have some kind of blanket, you know, in those all the time, all year long. I have that. So texture is really important. And then even in clothes. So this is like a velvet, and this is a faux leather. So even in your fashion, you can incorporate coziness and textures that make you feel good and are, you know, comfortable and happy.
Right.
Not everybody's gonna like it.
And I love this because, like you said, this doesn't cost anything. Like, go to your closet, find things that have a texture to it, and just notice it and use it. Bring your awareness to it. Yeah. Because touch is grounding.
And it's one of your senses.
And it will balance you.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
Awesome. Love that.
The other thing for grounding is activating the root chakra. And one way to do that I like is putting on some jams. So like something with an African drum beat or something, so you can really feel it in your, you know, in your root chakra. So that's a fun one.
I love that. Do the boys do that with you?
No.
She's got two really handsome twin boys to dance with. I feel like putting the jams on.
They're
into the kitchen with them.
The rap music, so they would like roll their eyes at me. But you know, someday they'll appreciate it. But so, you know, just that, you know, that thumpy kind of music is good. And that's, you know, senses is sound, right? And you can actually feel it. You turn it way up, you can feel it in your body, you know.
Yeah, and I don't know, I kind of dance like the 80s, but if it's really tribal, it feels good to like get stompy, and there's a lot of...
You used to do that in some of your classes.
Every now and then, yeah.
Made me feel very uncomfortable.
Michelle's like, I hated that day.
Yeah, that's why I remember it. I'm like, no. But yeah, so that's another way to ground. We talked about nature, so looking at the sun, also looking at the moon, and connecting with that feminine energy is another way to ground yourself, and that's a site, right?
Snowflake meditation.
Yeah. There's a lot, and then yoga asanas. We talked about that.
Yeah, a lot of yoga. You just show up on your mat and start to notice.
What are the grounding poses like? Child's pose.
Child's pose, goddess squat is grounding. If you're in chair pose and you're really working your legs strong, that helps bring you into your body. That would be grounding. A lot of the yin poses that are down on the ground are going to ground you.
I hadn't thought about that. Yeah. It made me just like sink when you said yin. I was like,
half kitchen.
Oh, yes. That's a good one. Yeah. Moving on to the next category is warming, because it's cold.
Grounding and then warming.
Okay, I'll do a blog and then we can send it out, and that way, you know, everybody can just relax and listen and kind of think about it. That's a pitta behavior.
I know, it is a pitta thing.
Yeah. Okay, so opposite of cold is warm. So we're gonna, heat. We want to bring heat into our lives. So sunshine, we talked about, fireplaces.
Yeah.
I have one of those buddies, blankies, one of those buddies, that you can heat up.
Oh.
Those, what do they have in them?
Sometimes lavender.
Yeah, they have like some, oh geez. Anyway, there are these warming things. You can use a heating pad. I mean, anything, blankets, sheepskin. I just got a sheepskin. Here she is. And it is like the best, most warming thing that I have ever experienced. So anything that keeps you warm and cozy. Taking a bath.
Love it.
That can warm you up. Make sure it's not too hot because that will be dehydrating. Which I make mine scalding hot, and I get out and I'm really red because it feels good, but that's not the
protocol.
It's not recommended. And then movement. So notice I'm not saying exercise because it's not about exercise. It's about moving your body in a way that feels good to you and that makes you happy. And so increasing the pace of any kind of movement, like even a yoga flow or whatever, if you speed up the pace, then you're gonna get warmer. And then clothing, we talked about that. I brought some examples. Again, I love fashion, so I've got all kinds of things. We definitely want to be covering our head and our hands. And this is something new I learned. The back of your neck and your wrists are trigger points that your body, it triggers the metabolism regulation. So hands and head are really important. So this is a buff, so you can just use it like to keep your neck warm, but then you can pull it up over your head. You could also wear it like over your ears. Definitely want to keep your ears because that's like a center point into your head, and it's really important to keep your ears covered and also oil them. We'll talk about oil in a minute. But anyway, so there's that, and then there's a cute little Angora one that goes over your ears, and then there's also the traditional earmuffs. So all kinds of
like
options.
Michelle, I have because I have Raynaud, so my hands lose blood a lot.
Yes.
But I can't stand to wear gloves because it's so hard to do anything. Like like you're constantly off and on, and then your fingers will get warm and they get moist, and you can't jam your hands back in. But I have those fingerless things that come up and over. Those work because of this. I didn't know why they worked. They really do work.
They do.
They work because they cover my wrists.
Yes, and I love those. And if you can't find them, I have numerous pair. I meant to bring some, but so thanks for bringing that up. But even if you can't find them, you can take an old pair and just cut them off.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so you can make your own.
Yeah.
DIY. I think that was it on heat.
So we talked about a lot of things through the five senses on that too.
Yes,
so
we did. Yeah, so they're all
they're all
in
embedded
there.
in there. Yeah.
But I can organize it differently.
I love it.
Okay, moisturizing. Okay.
Good. Well, this is my thing. What do we have?
So let's talk about our nasal passages. So our noses are, the first line of defense against toxins and viruses and things, allergens. So we really want to take care of our nostrils or nasal passages. So we've talked about neti pots before, or that practice in Ayurveda is really important. It cleans it out. And then after you neti, then you put oil in your nostrils. And it's called nausea. And this is just a product that you can buy, but it's an oil blend, and it smells really, really good. And since you're putting it up your nose, smell to me is really important, and it's a sense, right?
And it was the strongest, and it's very primal.
Well, I can tell you, it brings back memories. Like for me, I put Vicks in my nose every night before I go to bed because it reminds me of my mom. It reminds me of being a kid and like rubbing Vicks on your chest.
Yeah.
So there is a deep connection, or like perfume, where you smell a perfume and you're like, that smells like grandma, or, you know, so there's something really, like you said, primal about it.
Yeah. My daughter knows everyone by their smell.
Oh, interesting.
You know,
I wonder what my smell is.
I don't know. Like, she hasn't been to your house, but she like knows different houses have different smells and different people have. So is there an oil that I might have at home?
Yeah.
That I could just use?
Yes, you can use any oil that's edible and organic.
Oh, anyone. So sesame oil, almond oil,
Almond oil.
coconut
So here's
oil.
like just a plain almond oil. Yeah, you can use anything.
And just, I would put that on my finger and just roll it around the rim of my nostril.
Exactly.
So I'm not squirting it up there.
Not squirting it. Just getting moistening it.
Moistening.
And I do it throughout the day.
Oh.
So, well, I'm home. Most of us are home all the time now, so I have access to my stuff. I don't carry this around with me or anything, but I definitely do it in the morning and night.
Okay.
And then throughout the day, if it feels dry, and with the central heat, it's drying.
Yeah.
You know, so it just helps me. The other thing that that I use is a mist for your face, and it's lovely. It feels so good.
All right, share.
I put it on my neck and my chest too. This has rose water. This has rose in it. There's a lot of different brands. This one happens to be Honest, which is Jessica Alba's clean line, and I put some rose oil in it as well.
So rose oil is really good because rose oil will clear off heavy energy.
Oh.
So I have a rose oil spray that I just get like from Amazon. It's over there. I don't know who makes it. They sell it pretty much everywhere on the shelves at Mustard Seed and stuff. But when anyone, not naming any names, and not Michelle, but when some people come to the house and they bring like heavier, dense energy, like I'll spray rose oil after they leave just to like clear the heaviness out of the air. So rose oil is actually one of the things that's pretty inexpensive and might be worth purchasing.
Yeah.
Because that felt really great on my face. And then if I'm in places that aren't very high vibe, like I could spray it around myself when I leave, or I could spray it, you know, to clear the air.
Just make sure it's organic, because it's on your skin, it's up your nose, you know, it's close to your eyes, so you want to make sure it's organic.
Good point.
I also have an oil spray for my hair. I didn't bring that, but basically oil, but I also use oil just in my hair. So this is an almond oil. It's organic. Again, you want it organic. There's a lot of different brands. Using oil for like a self-massage it's called Abhyanga in Ayurveda, but I'm getting oil all over your stuff. But what the practice is that you heat the oil, and some people use baby bottle warmers.
Oh.
And you warm the oil. You can also just get a cup of hot water and put the oil in there, and then you massage your body, including your scalp, all the way down, and if you can, let it set for 10 minutes, and then get in a bath or a shower, and just rinse off. You don't want to like lather up with soap or cleanser, and then just pat yourself dry, and that's very nourishing and calming and heating as well. So depending on the type of oil you use, there's a different heat to it. So like sesame.
Sesame you told me for winter.
Sesame is heavy for winter, and then in the summer, you can use an almond, or coconut's really drying. A lot of people think coconut is, the jam, and that's what we're supposed to use. But it's astringent and drying. So that should be more for a kapha dosha because they're more oily than Avada.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
But just any oil, give it a shot.
It's interesting when she says warming oils too, because when I first would put almond oil versus sesame oil on my skin, it was like, it's not warming. And I think what happens over time is that you develop a relationship with it, and your sensory system gets more fine-tuned. So now that I've tried different oils and I use them kind of consistently, I can say, yeah, the sesame oil is a little heavier and it's a little bit warmer. It kind of sticks on my skin a little bit differently than almond oil that seems to be really thin and kind of dissipates into, you know, my body quicker.
Yeah.
So if I know it's going to be a really cold day, I'll use my sesame oil because I want that extra little sense of warmth.
Like a layer.
So yeah, and it's not obtuse at all. It's subtle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
It
subtle.
is. Yeah, so I would just say experiment. Sesame oil for me, like I don't think I could put sesame oil in my nose because it smells like stir fry.
Yeah.
You know, it smells like sesame oil. So there's definitely a scent to it. We were talking about this before we started recording. You can also, a lot of people don't have time to do Abhyanga and do the self-massage every morning, so maybe once a week would be fine on a weekend when you have time. But after you shower or take a bath, putting oil on your skin, even like don't shy away from your face, your earlobes, it's so relaxing. Like do your earlobes, like the back of your neck, your scalp, and inside your ears. You know, don't shy away from that.
And really, if you put just a little bit, like a quarter size, and rub in your hands, it's thin on your skin. So I put oil on, and then I throw my clothes on, and my clothes don't get oily, greasy. I mean,
No,
I haven't had
either.
any stains on my clothes. It's just a really thin layer, and you'll be surprised how your body kind of assimilates that, and it holds on your skin.
Yes.
So it's been a really nice add, because for many, many years I used lotions, and lotions, I don't know, they just don't have a lasting moisturizer.
They're topical.
Feeling. Yeah, they're very topical.
Yeah.
I guess that's the word. I guess that's what gives me that feeling, is that they're
Yeah.
gone in a second, and I'm itching by noon. And the oils have been a really nice upgrade, but I was kind of hesitant because I thought, oh, I'll be greasy everywhere, and that doesn't seem to be the. And I don't smell like stir fry when I use the sesame oil, do I?
No, but now we're not allowed to get close to each other, so maybe you do. But I smell like it too, so
there we
it's
go.
fine.
All your friends use sesame oil.
The other thing is if you do have lotions that you like, because some of them have, smells that we like. Again, I'm going to stress the clean factor and make sure that it's clean beauty or clean products, because it's going directly onto your skin and it gets absorbed into the bloodstream. So we definitely want to make sure that we're using quality products. But you can mix lotion, like a squirt of lotion with a little bit of oil, and mix it together and then put that on. So that's a nice.
She told me that today, so I can't wait to try that.
Yeah,
Totally
so that's fun. And then for face oil, I also use a face oil. I didn't bring that, but what you do is you put drop in your and you don't have to use a separate oil. You can use any kind of oil for your face. But at night I use a certain face oil, and you rub it in, like warm it like this, and then you pat it into your skin, because you really want to, you want to get it inside into your pores and everything. So it's definitely like a padding. But think about the difference though.
Yeah.
You
and
work it in.
Yeah, and you're not pulling on the collagen of your skin either. It's probably not going to be as saggy and aging looking. Okay.
So just pat it in and work it in.
Okay.
So, and warm it up first.
Okay.
The other thing to moisturize, the way to moisturize, is humidifiers.
Got it.
So easy. You can do it at night in your room. I do it during the day. I have a diffuser, humidifier combo thing, and I do it during the day when I'm working, just to kind of keep the balance from the heat, the central heat. And then essential oils. So that's going back to our smell. And then using warming scents like cinnamon, clove, ginger, cardamom, those types of sandalwood is another warming smell for.
Is pine?
I don't know. It seems like it would be.
Seems like it would be.
Seems festive.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Give it a shot.
Well, pine is one of the oils that I was surprised how much I liked it.
Yeah, like anything pine.
Yeah.
Yum. Okay, so moving on to nutrition. So this is all about taste and smell.
Okay.
And notice we didn't say diet. because it's about nourishment.
Right.
And our bodies are wise, and Ayurveda is all about healing and balancing, and so we're empowered to do this. And so we need to work with our bodies. And in the winter, our appetites are stronger. And it's because our bodies they're craving the nutrients to keep us energized, because we need more energy in the winter because we're feeling a little sluggish, so we need energy. And then also we need the nutrients to counteract any viruses, or to keep our immunities, our immune system stronger. So with nutrition, we always want to think about the rainbow and making sure we're eating all the colors of the rainbow so we get all the phytonutrients that we need. And then for me, and I'm kind of new to the whole CSA thing, but buying directly from the farmers, that has helped me know what is in season, because we need to be eating seasonally. Again, we're part of nature, and so it's really important that we're not eating foods that are not in season.
Right.
And when you go into a grocery store, everything's there, so you don't know what's in season and what isn't. So for me, the CSAs have saved me.
Well, yeah, it's really helpful. And I think too, Kathleen Madden at 24 Karat Kitchen, who will be visiting us around lifestyle as well, does a great job of cooking seasonally and creating seasonally. So she has so many different recipes and ways of using seasonal food that it's really opened my mind to some simple things that I can do to eat seasonally. So, I mean, she makes, what kind of, was it squash, acorn squash into like a porridge for breakfast with cinnamon and yum, and just really yum. Yeah,
and so that's like a comfort food. So we always hear
warming.
Comfort foods,
yeah,
right? And that's because our bodies are hungrier and they're craving heavier, dense, more oily, saucy stews and casseroles and that kind of thing, which is comfort food.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about some ways to do that.
Yeah, I made some things like record numbers of times this year, because it's comfort food, and also this year being at home a little bit more, I'm cooking a little bit more.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so then it's like you have time to
I'm a soup making machine.
And let the crock pot simmer with that in there, and
my Instant Pot is always on, and
love that.
Yeah, so it's it's kind of fun. There are definitely, before we go into what we should be doing nutritionally, I wanted to talk about some things that we should avoid. So dry snacks is one of them, and I'm smiling because I have a hard time avoiding dry snacks.
Yeah.
But they're not good for our digestion, and they're not warming or moisturizing or any of the things that we're trying to, promote during this season. So dry snacks are like chips and crackers and pretzels and nuts and any of those, snacky type foods. So, it's
no
hard.
comment.
Yeah, exactly. It's really, really hard.
So we'll try to limit those.
Try to limit them, and I would just say, for me, I have to make sure I'm prepared with other things, available to eat.
Things that are better.
Yeah.
Choice.
For Vatas especially, we should always avoid raw foods. So salads are really common. So salads, chopped up veggies in hummus, one of my faves, any kind of raw food. Yeah. Which is another big change.
Maybe a little bit more in the summer, but a little bit less in the winter.
Yes, for sure. Because the summer is
a different constitution. You have a different capacity to kind of break down.
But for now
in the winter, and I don't know if we can be like that trendsetter and unplug from some of society norms that women should eat salads 3 meals a day, then it becomes really fun and creative to say, how about these roasted beets?
just try it and see how you feel, and also pay attention to how you're digesting. And we were saying that everything gets dry. That includes stools. So if at any point you can tell how balanced you are by your stools. So if you're pooping little pellets, dry pellets, then that's telling you need more moisture in your diet, more hydration, more water, more oils, less dry snacks, and less raw foods.
Yeah. There we go. Your poop will tell you. All right, go on.
Tell you
Enough of that.
The other thing, these are all really hard for me too. I mean, these are lifelong things that I've done that have been really hard for me to break away from. The next one, including the next one, which is not partaking in cold drinks or smoothies. So, try to drink things that aren't ice cold. So it's okay, just keep it room temperature. And then smoothies, I just don't use anything frozen in them anymore. So you can use a banana, and whatever else you put in it, but it just needs to be room temperature.
Right.
And not icy. So it's very different, but it's doable. And the reason why is because it puts out the fire in our belly. It's called Agni, and that's our digestive fire. So you don't want to, you want to ignite that flame. You don't want to put it out.
Right. And the fires are warming. And so if it's already cold and we need that fire to stay warm, and then we're chug-a-lugging, an icy smoothie, we're not really helping ourselves.
It's not balancing it out. It's just adding to it.
And again, maybe in the summer, but like in the winter, this is our conversation today.
Right,
okay.
Exactly.
Right.
The other thing is to avoid is anything that's going to be dehydrating.
Okay.
And so that would be caffeine and alcohol, overexertion, like exercising and sweating too much, sitting in the sauna too much, hot baths, things like that.
Keep going.
And then the last one I have is erratic meal times. I'm so guilty of this too. Yeah. But we should be eating at the same time every day. And I hate the word should, but we need to try to have And so eating Ayurvedically, your biggest meal when the sun is at its highest, so usually between 10 and 2, because that's when our digestion or our Agni is strongest. And then slowing down as the sun sets, because your digestion is going to rest and digest phase. So you don't want to have a big meal after dark, because you're just going to sleep and it's just going to sit there.
I feel like that's maybe the most challenging, because, in terms of what you put on your plate, you can individualize and sort of blend into the world. But when you start changing meal times like that, especially the bigger meal in the middle of the day and a small meal at the end of the day, it's really hard to keep that congruent with the family. And I know you have a family. Do you have any tips for that? Like, how did you kind of adjust your own habit around the family routine?
Yeah, well, I try. It's been easier because the boys don't have sports right now. So, we're able to eat a little bit earlier than normal. But it is still a challenge, and I had to, so what I will do is I'll make a dinner for them. So we have, boys that are almost 14, and then my husband, and so I'll make a meal for them. I will have a bowl of soup or something small. One, I'm not as hungry, and two, I don't want to have a big meal, because my digestion isn't like a 14-year-old's digestion. Right. And I've explained this to them too, so they don't think that I'm weird or,
And also you can hear the motivation behind it, because you really do, in families, whether you're raising boys or girls, like this is a very real concern for parents in our society, is that you don't want to give the message that you're dieting or you're restricting or you're motivated by a particular superficial thinness kind of idea. I mean, one of the things that is super damaging in our culture is this belief that skinny is healthy. And, for some bodies, skinny is healthy, but for some bodies it's not. And somehow to redefine that and really honor each body for what it needs, to say, look, you're 14 years old, you're doing all these sports, here's what your body needs for dinner.
Yes.
29, and this is what my body needs for dinner.
Yeah.
So it's like really kind of honoring.
It is, and it's
educating and accepting.
I'm glad that you brought it up. It's a conversation. It's definitely an opportunity, I think, to, talk to your spouse about it, to talk to your kids about it and educate them, because when they get older, they're going to need to know that as we age, our digestion slows down. I can't eat a big meal like they can. I mean, I can, but I'm not going to feel good, and it's just not healthy. So, we adjust, and I cook now because families have different doshas, so there's different things that everybody should be eating. So I kind of cook like Chipotle. I mean, like the Chipotle model, where people can pick and choose what they want, and there's a variety of proteins, carbohydrates, vegetables, so that way it's balanced for everyone.
And it's option-based.
Yes.
And I think that was a big thing that changed for me over the years, cooking for my family too, is that my health needs were different than theirs, but I wouldn't impose that on them. I just cooked some options, and I tried really hard to stay in the headspace of that I'm cooking this out of love for my family and serving the needs of these people, rather than, I can't have this, they have to have that, and like to not get tied up in the rules about it, which then again box me in and make me feel really restricted, and the energy turns a bit sour. So just to say really cool, well, like I cooked a few pieces of chicken. If you want that, you can put that on top of your rice and your stewed, sweet potato mash kind of thing, and so that people can layer. And I think we had talked about bowls, because
we did.
That's a great
and
option.
That's like the Chipotle model, right? You can create a bowl with rice, avocado, sweet potatoes, sauteed spinach, chickpeas, some kind of lovely cilantro sauce. I mean, there's all kinds of different
grilled
sauces.
Onions and vegetables. Sometimes a roasted beets I'll put in there. Like anything, just clean out the refrigerator.
You can do that, or you can do like certain nights where you have like Mexican night, and you do black beans and a different kind of rice, and I'll do quinoa. So there's always, some kind of grain and some kind of, vegetable.
I sneak kale in my bowls by mixing it in with the quinoa, so it softens it from the hot quinoa, and it's not as, dense and tough for the people that don't have that kind of a palate, and they just, I don't know what they think it is, but they eat it.
So there's all, it's very different though. Then it took a while to, transition to that, but...
Name one cookbook or one blog
I should have brought
post.
some.
Can you think of one?
Gwyneth Paltrow has a couple of really good clean cookbooks. There's a lot of Ayurveda cookbooks out there. There's so many.
Angela Liddon and Oh She Glows are really
Yes,
good
I have
sites
that
to go
one.
to. Just if you feel like you want to explore that, a separate conversation. But
Yes,
for
but
sure.
there's lots of options. But some things that we want to incorporate: hot tea. I drink it throughout the day. Having a great travel mug is always
one
good.
logo.
You can also drink hot broths. It's like bone broth, just veggie broth, that kind of thing. But again, that's warming, and that would give you more nourishment. I also brought this cute little thermos because if you're on the go, you can always put your bowl that we talked about, or like soups or rice and, some kind of soup or Indian food is really, really...
Dolls.
Yeah, anything like that. You can put that in here, and then you've got some warm food on the go instead of... I know for me, when I'm not prepared and I don't have my warm whatever, I'm going to get some kind of dried snack, or raw veggie somewhere, or fruit like an apple. Speaking of fruit, instead of eating raw fruit, one thing that's delicious and really easy is sauteing fruit or baking fruit.
Okay.
Like baked apples. Applesauce is another, warm applesauce. Sauteing berries, anything like that, with a little bit of ghee. And cinnamon, nutmeg, that kind of thing. You can add, if you feel the need, you could add some kind of sweetener like a honey or maple syrup.
And I'm thinking those are nice light little snacks too. So easy to make that.
And you could even put it in here.
Yeah, in your saucepan, or for breakfast, or for a snack, or to take on the go.
Yeah. Hot cereals are great, and there's tons of different kinds. I know most people automatically think of oats, but there's oat bran, which is like almost like a cream of wheat, which is good. I make my own mixture that has oats, it has quinoa, it has amaranth in it, so that way it has some protein. And then I put nuts and dried fruit and coconut and spices in it. And I just have a big container of it, and put.
Oh, then you add boiling water.
I actually soak it. Like in the morning, I'll put macadamia milk in it, and then heat it up like a couple hours later. And then you could add ghee and any kind of spices to that. And I usually put like flaxseed, which is a healthy fat, or hemp seeds on top of it.
Breakfast at Michelle's house tomorrow, 10:30.
And then you can put your stewed fruit over that.
Yeah.
I know my grandfather always used to do stewed prunes. So that's another idea that's kind of cozy and warm. And then oils. We talked about oils, so not just putting it topically on our body. Or in our ears, or in our nose, but you can also cook more with some oils. So coconut oil. I really like avocado oil. Olive oil, ghee. I've started to make my own ghee, which Ayurvedic tradition is to make your own ghee during a full moon.
Oh.
And it makes a lot, and all you do, enzymes kind of raise to the
butter?
top. You boil organic butter.
No water.
No water, just butter. And then the enzymes come to the top, and you're going to scrape those off. It takes like 20 minutes. And then you pour it in a container, like a jar, and then it turns, it's all clear liquid, and then it turns this beautiful, like yellow color.
Wow, it's like Little House on the Prairie.
Totally. I am a pioneer.
I love it.
So ghee, and then that just adds a lot of flavor, and it's clarified butter basically. So ghee, so just try another fun thing to try is different.
So
oils.
when she says it's clarified butter and she's taking the white off the top, like I'm lactose intolerant and I'm allergic to the whey and casein in butters, but that pulls all that out.
It does.
So then I can have that ghee. So.
It's not vegan, but
not vegan. Yeah. Might be a little friendlier.
It's good for you.
Okay.
And then lastly, I have vitamin D.
Yes.
Everyone needs a vitamin D supplement that lives in Cleveland. And they say that it's not a problem if you have too much vitamin D. So I just, I'm not a medical doctor, but I've heard and read and
highly recommend vitamin D.
And we kind of talked about a typical day, so I just wanted to close out with what a typical day nutrition-wise looks like for me. So I always start with hot water and lemon. It's supposed to be, clarifies liver,
Flushes your liver.
it's just, I crave it. If I don't have it, it just feels bizarre to me. Then I move on to tea. So I have tons of different teas.
Gotcha.
So do you.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's another thing. If you haven't tried teas before, it's really worth exploring. Yeah. So having a tea kettle is really important because you don't want to microwave your water or anything like that. So just having a tea kettle, you can get them online for super cheap, and just having hot water on hand. And then oatmeal or some kind of hot cereal with the fruit that we talked about. And then lunch is usually a soup with a sauteed, type of vegetable, avocado and rice. So a lot of times I'll cook some kind of grain and I'll combine it with my soup just to make it a little heartier. So you can combine all of that together.
And I love that rice is so easy to make a bigger batch and then just scoop some and dump it in your soup, scoop some and throw your warm vegetables on top of it, so it simplifies. Totally,
and there are a million different kinds of rices too. Yeah. I made risotto the other night, just rice with vegetable stock, and I didn't put any cheese in it, and it's just like moist, and you know, there's wild rice, there's rice blends. I'll make rice, basmati rice with quinoa, put it together and cook it. So, you know, you can experiment with that too. And then for dinner, you know, a piece of salmon. We talked about you know, having a lot of different options. So making sure you have a protein, a carbohydrate, and, you know, a lot of vegetables. Your plate should primarily be vegetables, and make sure that it's a rainbow. The other thing that I try to have on hand is a lot of different spices. So, you know, again, another really fun thing to experiment with that you can sprinkle over, you know, the different things that you're trying. And there are, I'm blanking on the name. There are spice mixes that you can use for churna. Thank you. Yeah. Churnas that you can buy for your dosha type, and that way.
Let's spell churna, C-H-U-R-N-A.
Yeah.
And then you can just Google that, churna for
Vata,
Kapha,
or Pitta. And there are quizzes online, so if you don't know your dosha, you can take a quiz online and easily find out what that is. And that's kind of the first step.
Yeah, and you can always reach out to Michelle. She's going to give contact information right here, because she is a very, she's a very good coach. She's a very good guide to helping you get started and to individualizing for you specifically. And she's lived these practices, and so she sees you.
Yeah, definitely. And make it fun, and definitely, you know, try new things and see what works for you.
And little baby steps.
It takes a while.
1 or 2 things.
Be kind and gentle with yourself, and accepting, and have fun with it.
All right, so what's your website?
So you can find me on brilliantmuse.com, and would love to, you know, learn more about you and see if there's any way that I can help.
Yeah, and if you get a little confused or lost, just email to the studio, and it's yoga108school@tracyreinhardt.com, and I will connect you. And then we're gonna head over to Michelle's house for breakfast.
Brunch at the Toth House.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right, thank you.
Namaste. Intention fulfilled.
Yes.
Yes, I have a next step. I hope you do too.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.